Back in the fever now for a look at this next week's games. And, George, some of these teams in 2-5A desperately needing a win to get ahead in that district to find that last playoff spot.
Yeah, a lot of teams with some big games this week. Of course, we say that every week, and kind of like coaches say, they're all big at this point in the season. But, there are some big games this week, and it starts off Friday afternoon at Lowry Field. Tascosa coming in, visiting Coronado. Had a chance to see Tascosa against Amarillo this week, and Tascosa is a very solid ball club. They have some good athletes. They're able to run the ball pretty effectively, and Dalton Brooks is a good quarterback. But I think the sense of urgency that Coronado has to have this week, being 2-3, like we talk about, needing a victory to get back into this playoff chase, and this is a perfect time to do it. I talked about how the schedule sets up for Coronado, I think, more favorably. This is one of those games that I think they've got to win, and so I'm going to go, with the early afternoon game being at home. I think Coronado, with the way their offense kind of got back on track this last week, I think they'll have enough defensively to stop Tascosa. I'm going to go with the Mustangs to get back in the chase this week.
All right, Monterey, the other team we've been talking about, who has probably the less favorable schedule between them and Coronado. They have to travel to Odessa and avoid dropping to 2-4 in that district.
Yeah, I think last week really tells a lot about what is going to happen this week, from the fact that Odessa came back off their loss to Odessa Permian and got a win over San Angelo Central. They didn't do it, a lot of it offensively. They did it more defensively than they did offensively against Central. But Central's offense is pretty bad, and so that holding Central to 12 points is not anything new for any of these teams in District 2-5A. But they got enough offense, I think, 28 points, and really kind of came back and put together a good enough game to beat Central. Now, I think 2 weeks after the Permian game, I think mentally they're going to be back into their old state. And I think, it'll be interesting to see if they can get the kind of passing yardage they've been getting against a Monterey defense which is fairly effective in the secondary. The key is going to be getting pass rush. But going on the road, and going to Odessa, the way that the Broncos are playing, you can't call them a fluke anymore. I'm going to go with Odessa. I think Odessa down at Ratliff Stadium gets the win this week.
All right, Friendship trying to keep its undefeated season going. They welcome Hereford into Tiger Stadium this weekend. Hereford, a team we thought, they looked pretty impressive those early weeks. They've dropped a few games now. Does Friendship keep rolling from here on out?
Yeah, I think so. This has always been a big game between Friendship and Hereford. Just many classic battles going back to the Hodges brothers. The Kendall Browse and David Thomases. I mean, there's so many big names that have played in this football game the last few years, and who knows who's going to come out of it this week. But, I think you're right. I think Friendship, the way they're playing, I think Friendship keeps rolling. Hereford, they're not a bad team. They went up against a pretty good Abilene Cooper team, and Eamon Pimpton, the outstanding running back for Abilene Cooper, set a school record with 300 yards rushing. So it was a tough night for the Hereford defense. This is always usually a shootout. But the way that Friendship is playing, offensively, defensively, both sides of the balls, I think they're going to be able to contain Hereford. I think Friendship keeps rolling. I think they keep on the same path, looking toward that showdown with Abilene Cooper in a couple weeks. I'm going to go with the Tigers.
All right, 1-3A now. Estacado gets their first district win over Perryton. They're going to go to Levelland to take on the Lobos. Levelland struggled a little bit earlier this year. We saw them lose to Idalou in non-district play, but now they come back last week and get a ton of rushing yards from their offense. They take on Estacado. Who do you see coming out in this one? Yeah,
I was really kind of impressed and questioned at the same time when I saw Levelland, obviously getting 51 points against Borger, I think was not unexpected. But I think giving up 30 points to Borger, I think, is maybe a little bit of a warning sign. Borger really, unless they came up with some trick plays or whatever, or Levelland didn't come out well, the 30 points, from Borger giving up, I think really kind of surprised me. But like you said, they scored 51, so they really looked like they got back on track. Estacado, like we said, with the big win over Perryton. This is kind of a really hard game to pick, but I think, given the way things are going, I'm going to go with the Matadors on the road. They're the district favorites, and if you're going to be the district favorite, if you want to win the district championship, this is a game you got to go on the road and get. I'm going to go with the Matadors.
All right, and Perryton, of course, losing into that Estacado game last week. They take on Cooper now. Cooper gets their first win in district play. Can the Pirates keep things going for Coach Wyndham there?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think you look at that Cooper game when they beat Dalhart. We all had Dalhart as the number 2 team in that district, and for Cooper to go on the road all the way up to the Panhandle and pick up a big win after some of the struggles that Cooper's had, I think was a very, very impressive victory for the Pirates. I don't see any reason why they can't keep it going this week against Perryton. They're obviously, Perryton is a good team, but I'm going to go with Cooper. I think, being at home, their home opener, coming off the road after a big win last week, I'm going to go with the Pirates this week.
All right, big game in 3-2A play. Two top teams going at it. Idalou and Littlefield, both undefeated, both running the ball down everyone's throats lately. But then we hear Sean Reagan has 209 passing yards and actually has four touchdown passes. So a little bit different. Of course, some of those were to Cook, and then see what he can do with the ball after that. But who can come out on top to take that first step toward winning that district title now?
Well, normal convention would say, Littlefield being at home would be the normal choice. But, Littlefield is really, I don't know if it's because of defense or what, but they've really had some struggles, in having to win a couple of late games these last few weeks against, the passing offense of Roosevelt. They had to have a field goal to win it late, and then against Abernathy, which is very balanced and runs the ball really well, they had to have a touchdown and a 2-point conversion late to win it. So I don't know, I'm sure, Coach Huseman at Littlefield has got them working hard. The thing is, if they get down to Littlefield or get down to Idalou, I don't think they'll have a chance to come back because Idalou really does a good job controlling the ball, like you said, with Cook running the ball. And, I'm sure some of those passes, one of them was a 78-yarder to Cook. I'm sure that was a little swing pass, and he did the rest, obviously. But, it's going to be an interesting game. If Littlefield gets down again, I don't think they're going to be able to come back in this one. I like Idalou to go on the road. They're the team I think is going to win this district, and I don't see any sign from them as to cause me to change that. I'm going to go with the Idalou Wildcats this week.
All right, and another big district game with two teams on top fighting for a top spot. That would be Meadow and Ropes. Who can come out on top of this one and take another step?
Yeah, a big six-man game this week. This was kind of a key game last year that helped Ropes win the district championship and really kind of signaled the part of the struggles for Meta in the fact Meta had always dominated that district and pretty much run to the district title, but they had some struggles last year, and it's what caused them to not only fall out of the district championship race, but kind of fall out of the playoffs as well. But looks like they've come back this year. They're running the ball outstanding. They're playing great defense. So is Ropes. This is always a big game in this area, but given how both teams are playing and all the factors involved, it looks like Meadow is kind of back on track this year to get back into that district title. I like the Broncos this week.
All right, Georgia's picks. Coronado taking out Tascosa. Odessa with the win over Monterey. Friendship keeps rolling with the win over Hertford. Estacado over Levelland. Cooper with the win over Perryton. Idalou over Littlefield. And Meadow gets the win over Ropes. All right, we're done here this week on Football Fever. Be sure to tune in right here to LISD TV for Friday Night Football and LoneStarVarsity.com for all your news, highlights, scores, and more from around the area. We'd like to know what you're thinking, so you can email comments and questions to George and I at sports@LubbockOnline.com. We'd like to thank Coach Mayo from New Deal for joining us today. For George Watson, I'm Travis Graham. We'll catch you next week right here on The Fever.